Hey guys, it's your boy Progress, and welcome to a brand new video. If you want to follow my other social media, I've got my Twitter and Instagram on screen in the description below, so if you want, then go check those out. If you guys are a bit confused as to why I'm at the old location, it's because I'm back in my hometown because it's winter break now, so by the time I get to the next video, it probably will be at the other location again, so just wanted to let you guys know that. But today, I kind of wanted to do things a little bit different than I usually do, which I wanted to do a 3-part series on the music industry. Today's video will be part 1 of that, in which I will be mainly talking about the one event that shook the music industry and how it would work from then on out. The next part in the series will once again be about the music industry, but it'll be mainly about contracts and how almost all artists are actually in debt to their labels to this day. And the last part in the series will be about how the music industry treats artists, especially regarding industry plants or even going into K-pop and a few other things, just to kind of give you an idea of the mistreatment a lot of artists do go through, and what that can possibly cause for the artists of the future. My reasoning mainly for wanting to do this series is because ever since I started actually making videos that were critical of the music industry, it seems like more and more comments keep coming up of people saying, that's just how it is. And it really got me thinking, there's a lot of really messed up stuff that is considered just how it is, and how nobody is actually bringing these things into the public viewing to try and start a discussion to possibly have some of these things changed in the future. Of course, the main reasons that people would say that they don't do that would be 1, they don't care enough, 2, they don't know what's wrong with the music industry, or 3, there's nothing that we the public can do. Which, if you don't know what is actually wrong with the industry, that's kinda what the point of this series is, so I hope that you can kinda learn something from this. And if you're one of the people as well who thinks that we, the general public, can't do anything at all, then that's what I'm gonna be talking about in today's first part of the series. Just before getting into this whole thing though, I should make it absolutely clear that when I do speak negatively about labels, I am not strictly speaking about all labels, but I would be lying if I were to say that all labels or even the majority of labels are good. Now let's get into things because I don't want to keep you guys waiting any longer. How was it that the general public was able to make a massive difference in how the music industry worked? Well, to be able to explain that, we're gonna have to go way back, and by way back, I mean so far back that I wasn't even born just quite yet. That being to June 1st, 1999, with the birth of a small program that would make big waves called Napster. But say you're like me and you're not one of the cool early 90s kids who probably actually got to use this program, then you may actually know something closer to like its disease-ridden brother called Limewire, which came out in 2000, or one of the other 100 programs like this that existed, kind of like FrostWire, Kazaa, and so many others. These programs had a very important impact on the music industry, and I want to kind of explain what it was that these programs allowed you to do. What all these programs had in common was that they allowed you to upload and download files from somebody else's computer to your own and vice versa, all as long as you had an internet connection. This was known as peer-to-peer file sharing, which was also called a P2P network. The beauty of this functionality was that it actually removed the need for a central server, which can often be very expensive, and instead turned all of the computers that were on the network into a server in itself. Was this the safest or most trustworthy way of getting files? Probably not, and you know, a lot of people probably destroyed their systems with viruses because of it. But it was also pretty fast for the time because it wasn't being bogged down like a central server would be, and also, you gotta remember, the creators of these things weren't like the owners of Google. They didn't have tons of access funds to be able to put a server in every single location all over every country in the entire world. Instead, they made their program actually be smart and use location services so that way that you could actually retrieve the file that you were looking for that was from the closest computer to your location to get a faster speed. These programs that were using peer-to-peer file sharing were of course doing things illegally, but getting you them for free. The main reason that people wanted to use this, especially something like Napster, was because they wanted to get free music. They wanted an individual song or album from any artist of any location, but they didn't want to have to pay the insane amount of money it would cost to get all of that. So they would just download it all for free from programs like Napster and Limewire. The impact that these programs had was absolutely insane, especially something like Napster, which ran for less than 2 years to its court-ordered shutdown in 2001, but yet at its peak had 80 million users. Even Limewire had an insane impact, with the owners claiming that before Limewire had its court-ordered shutdown, it had a user base of 50 million monthly users. It was clear that everybody wanted change, because everybody from your grandma to active pirates were wanting to use these systems because they were sick and tired of how things worked before this point. Before this point, things really sucked. There was no thing like iTunes or Spotify where you were able to cheaply listen to just a single song off of an album that you liked. No, if you wanted to listen to a song, you had to buy the entire album that song came off of just to get the couple songs that you might have actually enjoyed, which Pitchfork estimates that the average album costs about $18.50 at the time, which is absolutely insane. Of course, there were people who would make their own mixtapes where they would get a CD and burn off just the songs that they wanted to hear from each album, but that of course still required you to buy the full original CD album version. Just to give you an idea of how much this would cost, I went through my November playlist alone and saw how much it would actually cost if each song came off of an album I had to buy back in 2000, and I also grouped together some of the songs if they would have been off of the same album, but for just the 22 songs that were on my playlist, I would have been out $351 buying all the albums for just the few songs I actually liked. Yeah. It's a little bit insane. Go ahead and try this yourself. Take the amount of songs that are in your playlist and then multiply that by $18.50 and see just how much money it would have actually cost you to buy just the few songs that you actually liked from each album. Like, just imagine that. Just imagine having to live in a world where things actually worked like that and were so much money. Well, odds are either you yourself or probably your parents did have to live like that, because the music industry was extremely flawed and extremely greedy. And the industry proved just how greedy it really was, especially when it came to one of the actual lawsuits that was put against Limewire during this whole thing that was going on. But the level of greediness that was expressed by the Recording Industry Association of America, otherwise known as RIA, who did a lawsuit against Limewire on behalf of the major labels, is kinda crazy, because they thought it was at all justified to claim that the creators of Limewire owed them $72 million. Oh, wait, actually, did I say 72 million? Oh, sorry, I meant $72 trillion, which Forbes has documented what Judge Kimba Wood, who was actually in charge of the case, had to say about this claim. She came back saying, quote, "Plaintiffs are suggesting an award that is more money than the entire music recording industry has made since Edison's invention of the phonograph in 1877, end quote. Which she's very, very close with that approximation. You know, she's a little bit off, but yeah, you know, because not only is it actually worth more than the entire music industry has ever been worth in its entirety, it's also worth more than every single resource owned by every single one of the 7 billion people who live on planet Earth. They wanted the Earth and the moon for compensation. The Recording Industry Association of America has since tried to come out denying that they ever asked for that specific amount of money, which, I mean, technically they're not wrong by saying that, but there is documented stuff where they had said they believed at one point that they should be owed $150,000 for every single download of every single song off of Limewire, which, when the numbers were crunched, approximated to $72 trillion. So if you didn't understand why I had said the music industry is so insanely greedy, then I hope after seeing, you know, the Recording Industry Association of America's, claims, you can kinda get where I'm coming from now. Before, and technically still after, things like Napster had come out, the music industry was absolutely mad with power. They had full control of absolutely everything to do with the industry, and they knew people would pay the insane prices they were putting on selling out these albums because people had no other options. Things like the underground or independent artists weren't realistically a thing that was feasible back then, because aside from you being able to make a tiny bit of money, maybe selling mixtapes out of the back of your truck, there was no artist who could go fully global without being signed, because the only way to be able to be put onto shelves was if you were signed through a label. Now, why is it that I brought up these companies like Napster and Limewire? Well, it's because of how they shaped the future. Before the internet, the music industry had full control of absolutely everything and clearly had no intentions on trying to change anytime soon. But then the internet was born and everyone just kind of stared off at the music industry saying, I am the captain now. And the music industry had a meltdown. So much change because of these peer-to-peer services coming out and existing. All of these lawsuits and legal battles that the companies went through, and these tens of millions of people who took a chance on these programs, is all what gave us what we have today. Because on April 28th of 2003, the world was given iTunes, which wasn't perfect, but it was something. It finally gave you the ability to be able to buy a single song off of any album that you wanted, and was for a pretty decent price of either from 99 cents to $1.29. iTunes was a very quick fix decision that was made by the music industry, but you have to think that before this point, you had to buy an almost $20 album just to be able to get a couple songs off of it that you may have liked. And this is how it's been since basically the birth of the music industry over 100 years ago, and all it took was just a couple years to force change. And even nowadays, things like iTunes have become obsolete, and instead we've got stuff like Spotify or SoundCloud, Apple Music, and all these other services that offer a seemingly unlimited amount of music for a very affordable price per month. And not only did Napster and Limewire kind of create the cascading event that gave us these streaming services we have today, but it also opened up the opportunity of art actually being given back to the artists for once, and independent artists are thriving more than ever. You can be like me and so many other independent artists where all you've got is the equipment you purchased yourself. There's no team, no label backing you, nothing. It's just you able to upload your music onto like every streaming service imaginable and be heard anywhere around the world, all without having to sign. All thanks to people wanting change and actually making it happen. Because unfortunately for the music industry, the only reason they're able to exist is because we give labels money. So if they start to notice that there's a drop in sales, they take notice immediately, because the unfortunate truth is that the only thing labels really care about in most cases is money. Which is what leads us to the second part that will be in this series, which will be about how these music industry contracts evolved, or more so just shifted, to be able to function in this streaming dominated world where album sales are constantly dropping and the need to be able to make money is even higher than ever. But yeah, that's probably gonna do it for today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure you leave a comment and let me know. But yeah, to me it was really cool being able to actually research the history of trying to figure out how we got the marketplace that we've got today. I also just quickly wanted to thank Falters for making the background music for today's video. He did a great job, so if you want to follow him or listen to his other stuff, I've got his links in the description as well. But yeah, thank you so much to my patrons this month. It means so much to me that you guys have actually donated, and it helps me out a lot. And a super special thank you to my $10 and up patrons this month, those being Farski, widwestfunky, Helen Gage, and follow at rap_thoughts on Instagram. Thank you guys all so much for your donations, especially during this time of the year. It helps me out a lot with being able to make YouTube my priority. So yeah, thank you guys. It's awesome to see you guys continue to donate. Thank you. But yeah, like I said, hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to look out for part 2 that should be out in 2 weeks. And also go and check out my new EP that just came out this month that is on all platforms, and it's called Hello. I hope you guys had a great time watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.
I wanna make your days be worth it, be with your wet night, your wet night, yeah. I wanna flirt and call you perfect, cause I know I'm right, I know I'm